two-part series for my Jaclyn Hill Vault collection. Yesterday, I uploaded my video of the Ring the Alarm and the Armed and Gorgeous. I can't remember what the names are, you guys. So I uploaded that video yesterday. I will link it up here in the corner if you guys have not checked that out. If you guys have been following me on Snapchat and Instagram, I have had a crazy time with my computer. My MacBook just kind of died on me and wouldn't open up and wouldn't turn on. And I'm very, very sorry, but Foundation Friday is actually not going to be up on my channel until probably Sunday. I'm really sorry. But when my computer kind of died on me, it just kind of backed me all up. So be on the look for my Foundation Friday, which is going to be the Natasha Denona Pore Vanishing Matte Foundation. That video will be up on Sunday, but I will return to my regular schedule on Monday. It's just this week, when my computer died on me, it just kind of threw everything up in arms. So today I am doing the tutorials and a review on the Dark Magic palette, which is what I'm wearing right now. This is what the palette actually looks like. And as you can see, and then later on in the video, this palette right here, which is called Bling Boss. So it's got kind of more of the purpley, like warm tone, cool tone options. So I'm kind of excited to dive into this one. There are some really, really pretty shades in here that I'm really excited to play with. There's going to be a timestamp in the description box down below so that if you don't really want to see how this look is created, you can go ahead and skip this look and head over to the next look. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you for your patience with all this editing craziness and my computer breaking this week. I really appreciate it, you guys. And let's move straight into this tutorial, and then later on I will do the Bling Boss palette. So I'll see you guys then. Okay, let's get into this tutorial. I've already done this once and the look turned out horribly. I'm gonna try it again. I'm gonna try to do it. This is not a palette that excites me. It's not a palette that I gravitate towards. So it's been very hard for me to be creative, but I have a look in my mind that I wanna do. I'm gonna try it again. Second time's the charm. So I have my concealer down. My brows are looking all crazy because, you know, whatever. That's just what they do. They're always living their best life. So I'm going to go into the shade Poof. It's this first shade in the palette. I'm going to take my Morphe M504 and tap this over top of my concealer. When you're using a palette that A, are dark shades like this, B, shades that you don't gravitate towards, and you're not doing very well with being creative, I highly recommend doing your eyes before you do your face makeup, because I was able to just wash it off and start over. I don't have any face makeup on. I only have my brows on. That's it. Now, it was kind of hard to go up underneath my brows, but I will fix them once I am done. When I first went in, I went straight in with this shade in the crease, but I don't like that shade. It doesn't build very fast. It's not very pigmented, and it turns it gray, and I'm not a fan of this shade. It's very gray, and even though I understand it's a cool tone, but it's got way too much gray in it. I'm not even gonna touch it. I'm done. Like, I'm over it. So I think I'm going to take this shade right here, which is called Potion. Now, I don't want to go too far up because I do want to keep this down inside the crease. So I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to take my Sigma blending brush. This is the E25. I'm going to go into that shade Potion, and I am basically going to start building this right here. I don't want this coming up any higher than where I have it, so I'm trying to keep it just right there in that area. Okay, now so far that shade blends out nicely. Now I'm just gonna kind of do this tapping motion because I don't want to blend it and bring it up into here. So to kind of feather that line out just a little bit, I'm just gonna lightly tap on it without blending it, is basically what I'm doing. This is my Sigma eye shading brush. This is the E25. I'm gonna go into the shade Nose Job. It's this really dark, beautiful blue shade, and I'm packing this all over my lid. And now, I'm not a makeup artist, you know, I'm just an everyday kind of gal that just loves makeup. And I don't do really, really super duper creative looks, as you can tell. I kind of just I like more of like the natural type styled look. So there are a lot of really good YouTubers that make some beautiful eyeshadow looks. Okay, so now before I move on to the next shade, I'm gonna go back in with that blending brush. This is the E28. I'm gonna go back into that green shade, Potion, and I'm going to blend where those two connect, just so that I don't have any gaps in between packing on these shades. Now I'm gonna take the tip of this, see there, it kind of comes out into a point. I'm gonna go into the shade Busted, and I'm going to blend this right here. And so far, these are blending out okay. Do I think that they're the best? Absolutely not. But am I having a lot of issues? No. I mean, it's doing okay. Except for this little junk I got going on right here, but I will fix that in a minute. I'm gonna take my Morphe M506, I'm gonna go into that shade Potion, and I'm going to basically try to feather this out. Because it just, see, but it's being patchy, it's not sticking right here. And I'm having an issue with them wanting to stick right there. We're gonna keep continuing. Okay, I'm going to build up the crease. So I'm gonna go back into that E25 blending brush. I'm gonna go back into that shade Potion, and I'm going to really build up this shade. I am gonna go into the shade Inside Job, and it's this one right here in the middle of the palette. And I'm gonna take that Sigma E25 brush, and I'm gonna pack both sides of the brush, tap it off, and I am going to pack that on over top of Busted. When you're doing this kind of a look, you need those shadows to cooperate. Like, you need them to cooperate and not be a nightmare. And this is being a nightmare. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back into the shade Busted. It's the royal blue. And I am taking the same brush, tapping that off, and I'm basically just building up these together. Unless you're packing these shadows are not good. The only time that they're good is that if you're packing on. It's kind of, they're kind of hard to work with. I'm not gonna lie. They are very hard to work with. Okay, going in with my blending brush, my E25, I'm gonna go back into the shade Potion, and I am going to focus that right here. Because I kind of need my crease to be as dark and as bold as the lid. These shades are, okay, breathe, Tara. All right, so for the lid, I am going to use two shades. I'm gonna go in with Trickery, which is this really pretty emerald green. And then I'm gonna go in and put Power Cut over top. So I'm gonna first take Trickery on my finger, and I'm gonna start pressing this on top of this blue situation we got going on right now. I am going to take this Morphe 421 brush. It's a small concealer brush. And I'm gonna go into that shade Trickery, and I'm gonna pack both sides. And then I'm gonna spray both sides, misting it. Not like setting, you know, not like wetting it, but I'm misting it. And I am going to just start packing it on. Taking that same brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Power Cut. This like really became chunky like quick. See how that like built up? Ugh. And that was just going in with that brush. I didn't go in hard. Ugh. That would have been a silvery mess all over my eye. So I'm gonna lightly go back in and hopefully not pick up very much. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this eye, finish the rest of my makeup, and then I'll come back and I will give you guys my final thoughts on this palette. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I went ahead and threw the rest of my makeup on. To smoke out the lower lash line, I am going to add some eyeliner. This is my Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil in the shade 0. And I'm basically going to just do this. I am going to take this brush. This is my blending brush, the E25. I'm going to go in to the shade Potion, this green shade. I am going to smoke this out. And my contacts hate me when I do that. Like, they hate me. They're like, stop it! I want to go into the shade called Busted right there. And I'm going to go over top of this, but I'm going to try to get it as close to the lash line as I possibly can. Now for the inner corner, I am going to take my inner corner highlight brush that I always use. It doesn't have a number on it, it's from Morphe. And I'm gonna go in to this shade right here, this silver shade right here. It's called Power Cut. And I'm gonna stick this right here. It's not my favorite silver. It's a pretty silver, but it's not my favorite. Okay, so this is the final look. Let's jump into how I feel about it, and then we'll move on to the next palette. So first of all, you guys, like I said, this is not a palette that I would reach for ever. These shades are just not my shades. Based on quality, not a fan of this palette. The two that I used yesterday, I liked. They were good quality. You could tell that I didn't have a problem, you know, blending them out. This is the type of palette that you can only pack. You can't blend these shades. If you go in and start blending them out, you are going to either 1, change the pigment, 2, lose the pigment, or 3, you will start getting a little bit of muddiness going on. This is not a palette that you can blend out. It is a palette that you can pack color only. As you've seen in my tutorial, you know, I was just taking the brush and just packing it and barely blending it, because if I didn't do that, the first time that I tried to do it, I was losing pigment, and I would go back in and then I would lose it again, and I'd go back in, and it was just not working out. And so I learned that this is not a palette that you can do that with. Is this palette worth $15? No, because I do feel like there are other palettes out there that have these similar shades. I think you have these shades in some of your collections. It is what it is. On a scale from 1 to 5 on, you know, blendability and how it worked, how it performed, I would give it like a 1. It's not that good of a palette, you guys. I'm just saying. It's just not. That is my opinion, and yeah. Dark Magic is a no-go for me. So let's go ahead and jump into the next palette, which is the final palette of this series, and it is this palette right here. Mostly cool tones. You have a few warm tones here, just a few, but mostly cool. I'm very excited to dive into this. And then at the end of this tutorial, I am going to give you my final thoughts on the entire collection and all 4 palettes. So I will see you guys in a little bit. Okay, doing my brows 2 times in one day is not fun. I don't recommend it. Okay, this doesn't want to like move. Like the shadows, oh my gosh. They don't want to move, and they don't want to blend, and they're like sticking to, okay, I don't know if you can see it. So like right here in this area, like I have it dark right here, and then I can't get it to like build up right here. Like it's really patchy. Can you see how patchy that is? Are you flipping kidding me? That looks terrible. Oh my gosh. Why? What in the, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. Okay, I can't. Oh my gosh, you guys. This is the worst palette I've ever used. It just doesn't want to blend at all. Like it doesn't want to diffuse. It doesn't. I don't even know how to salvage this because it's so bad. Can you see that flipping? Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna wipe this off and start over. Because I can't leave it like this. I can't. This is terrible. You guys see this mess I got going on right here? As everything falls. Do you see how it's like super patchy and like I can't get it to blend at all? Okay, I'm back. I got concealer back on, powder back on. Let's jump into it because this is going to be a long tutorial. I am going to take my Morphe M575 brush. This is a clean one that I have. I'm going to go into that shade Hush Hush, okay? Which is right there. Okay, that's not working. Let's try my E28 brush. I don't even can I just leave it like this and say it's a bad palette and let's just move on? I am going to take my Morphe Y15 brush. I'm going to go into the shade Mystic, which is right here. I dipped in lightly and it's really packed. My brush is packed and I feel like I don't want that much pigment on my brush because you just cannot blend these out. I am going to go into this shade just a little bit because I do want to add a little bit of warmth to it because that is the only warm tone in the palette. So I've got some on the brush and I'm just going to really try to tap it off because it seems like that's probably the only way I'm going to be able to get a look to even look halfway decent, is that I really need to tap off the extra product. This is the worst palette I've ever used. I don't think I've ever used a palette quite this bad before. This is my Sigma E29 wide shader brush, and I'm gonna go into that shade Mystic, and I'm gonna pop that right here. I've never used a palette like this before. This is awful. I can feel myself starting to get really frustrated. Okay, now I'm going in with the shade Sparks, packing it on both sides, tapping it off, and then going into Pack It. Why are you so hard to blend? There's 6 shimmer shadows in this palette. This is Ballsy. This is Buried Treasure. This is Pizzazz. This is Glitz and Glam. This is Bling Bling. And this is Gem. I'm gonna go in with the shade Glitz and Glam right here. I'm gonna go in with my felt tip applicator. It's a really, really chunky shimmer. I'm just not into it, you guys. I'm not into this at all. I'm gonna take my finger and go into that shade Pizzazz, which is right here. And I'm gonna just kind of dip just a tiny bit right here on this outer corner. I hate this palette. I hate this look. I hate everything about it. I'm getting frustrated. It's just like I can't make this work. So I'm going to take the other side of the felt tip applicator and I'm going to go into Bling Bling, which is right here. I'm just trying to use as many shades as I can in the palette. And that's probably my favorite out of the entire palette, mattes included, even though it is starting to get a little bit hard panned where it's like, you know, like I'm losing some of the pigment. I'm gonna put that all over. I really am. I'm over it. I'm over this whole look. And if I find a color that I like, I'm gonna use it as much as I can. I wish I could just put it all over my entire eyelid, but you know. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of my makeup, so I'll be right back. Okay, so you're probably wondering why I'm back so soon with this eye not done and this eye done. Okay, let me explain why. So when I went to do this eye, I was able to have, okay, this is much better than this one was, you have to admit. So I thought, okay, I've got to try to make these match because this one was much darker. And I think that this one is actually a little bit decent. The other one was a hot mess. I'm going to show you what I did just so that you guys know how I tried to get this look. I mean, it still looks bad. Let's make that perfectly clear. But it just looks a little bit better than the other look did. I grabbed my E28 brush from Morphe and I went into this shade right here, Hush Hush. Boom, right there. I grabbed my Morphe Y15 brush and I went into Mystic. I lightly dipped, I mean like boom dip, okay? Tapped as much as I could off and then I barely feathered this in. I'm talking, you guys, you gotta go in with a light hand. You cannot go in with a deep hand. You will mess it up, okay? That was it. I walked away. Then I went in with Sparks right there on the end. Lightly again. My eye is so sore from wiping all of this off. Like it's done. Like it's like stop doing it. You can't do it anymore. It hurts so bad. I want to show you what Bling Bling is doing. All of these shimmers are getting what you call hard pan. They're getting very chunky and they're just not working at all. I mean, they're done. They're like a one-hit wonder. You really got to dig to get that pigment because they're hard panned now. So they're very chunky. I took my pencil brush, the E30 from Sigma, and I went into Mystic. And I packed that. And then I went in there right here to try to build up between those shades. And then I went to Sparks and did the exact same thing. And then I went back in with my Morphe Y15, went back into Sparks and built it up. Okay, and that's it. You have to walk away. You can't continue to blend. You can't keep trying to make it work, because this is it. This is all you're gonna get with these shadows. These matte shadows are the worst shadows I've ever used. I'm gonna go ahead, go back off camera, finish the rest of my makeup. So I'll be right back. Let's go ahead and get into this. I have absolutely nothing to say positive about this palette. Nothing. It is the worst palette I've ever used, ever. And I've used some pretty horrible palettes. I wouldn't pay $1 for this. I wouldn't even give this palette away. It is such a bad palette. This is where I stand. I've used all 4 of the palettes. This is my final thoughts on all 4 of them. You don't need these palettes. If you have the Jaclyn Hill palette, you don't need any of these palettes. I use a lot of Morphe products. I have a lot of Morphe brushes. I absolutely love my Jaclyn Hill palette. It's probably, hands down, one of my favorite palettes I have. This palette has been well loved, well used. I have used this palette so much, you guys. I have a lot of palettes. And for me to have, you know, a palette in here that I have hit pan on, that tells you how much I love this palette. If you guys have the Jaclyn Hill palette, you don't need these palettes. These palettes are completely useless. Yes, the first 2 palettes I used, the Rain the Alarm and the Armed and Gorgeous, are beautiful palettes. There are similar shades that are in those 2 palettes in the Jaclyn Hill palette. So I know that when Morphe and Jaclyn Hill sent out a bunch of PR to influencers, and influencers were having issues with the palettes. There was a lot of inconsistencies. We know that. They stopped the launch and they extended it until they could reformulate and repackage and get them ready. I did think that it was pretty quick. I was thinking, wow, you know, when I found out that they were already done, like the new version and the better version were already done, I was like, geez, okay, well that was quick. I don't know how production of this kind of stuff goes. I don't know how long it takes to create a palette. I don't know how long it takes to recreate shadows. I did think it was very quick, and I kept thinking, how are they doing this? They must be having 20 factories working around the clock to get this many palettes done, because it was my understanding that Jaclyn said that they threw all of the old palettes completely away. So they started basically fresh. It's my understanding that when you do a palette, it takes like up to a year sometimes, like 6 months to a year, to create and formulate shadows and packaging and all that. Now, granted, they already had the packaging, so the packaging was done. They had to formulate the shadows and reformulate them. Did they test them before they put them in the palette? That's what I want to know. I want to know as a consumer, because I bought these with my own money, how did they get these turned around so quickly? Because let me just explain to you, this palette that I just used, I've never been more frustrated in my entire life. This was horrible. Here's my other thing. There are consumers that are not in this beauty world, that they don't know, you know, they're not going to YouTube to watch influencers to see how they're feeling. They might have the Jaclyn Hill palette. Then they walk past this in Ulta and they're like, oh, there's another Jaclyn Hill palette. I really like that palette. Ooh, that's a pretty shade. And they buy it thinking it's going to be the same quality, and it's not. Even though the first 2 palettes, I would say, for me personally, were pretty good, great quality. But these 2 palettes that I used in today's video were terrible. The Dark Magic, I just couldn't blend it. Like, as long as I didn't blend anything, I was okay. As long as I was going to pack and not blend, I was okay. This, you couldn't pack, you couldn't blend. My eyeshadow looks terrible. And the first thing I'm going to do is go upstairs and wipe this makeup off. Based on what I used today, I'm questioning whether these are new palettes. I'm questioning whether this is the new formulated palette, if they did throw them away, or if they just decided to just put them out anyways. Because I was thinking that it was pretty big of Morphe to lose that money. And here's the thing, this is what I was thinking was going to happen. So Chris and Dominique brought out the Lemonade palette, and the first palette I reviewed on my channel, and it was terrible. The mattes were okay, but the shimmers were horrible. They were very chunky, and they were nothing like the Latte palette, and I was very honest with my review. Even though I love Chris and Dominique, and I think she's one of the most genuine YouTubers, I felt so bad to have such a negative view. But then she did something amazing, and she didn't ask for anybody to send back their palette to get a new one. She just sent every customer a palette. Every single customer that bought a lemonade palette got a replacement. And let me tell you, I have used the replacement, and the replacement was 100% amazing. It was just the exact same quality as the latte palette. The shimmers were completely fixed, problem solved, and Dominique Cosmetics made it right. They made it right with their customers. And the only thing that I'm seeing is Jaclyn Hill saying stuff like, you know, scrape off the top with your finger and see if you can. I'm like, what? Don't get me wrong. I know these are $15 palettes and these are more affordable palettes. But oh my gosh, based on what I used today, I can't believe that she would put her name on this. I'm shocked. This is the worst palette I've ever used. But I'm very disappointed, I guess, as a consumer. I'm disappointed in the quality of this. You guys know that I'm always going to be 100% honest with you guys. And I'm, like I said, I'm not a makeup artist. I don't, you know, I'm a consumer. And all I do is turn on a camera and come on here and explain to you as a consumer my experience. And as my experience, I'm telling you, the Jaclyn Hill palette is amazing, and these are just not Jaclyn Hill quality. They're not the Jaclyn Hill Morphe quality in the original palette. These two are decent palettes for me, yes, but let me explain. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews about these two palettes. Not everybody has had that experience. Bottom line is, these are a pass, a hard pass. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for all your patience with all of my computer craziness. I love you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day filled with love, happiness, and joy. I love you guys so much. Bye.